Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Redwood Financial Strategies Education Time. We're diving into business topics today, and our business topic that we're going to dive into is buy-sell agreements within your business. So if you have a partnership or you have family members in that transition is going to happen, buy-sell agreements are a very, very important thing. So let's dive into them. I'm going to share my screen here really quick. All right. So for August 2024, for our business education, we're talking buy-sell agreements. So what is a buy-sell agreement? Why is it important? What are the 5 Ds within a buy-sell agreement? We're going to go through a fun example. How do you fund a buy-sell agreement? And then some questions to ask yourselves. So let's dive in. What is a buy-sell agreement? Many of you guys probably know what they are or have one in place. If you don't, here's a good refresher and then a little more detail. So a buy-sell agreement is a legally binding contract between business owners that outlines how the partner's shares will be acquired should one of the 5 Ds occur. So the 5 Ds. So basically what happens to the shares, your shares, my shares, if something were to happen to me or you, what happens to the shares and what happens to our estates. So the 5 Ds are death, disability, divorce, departure, and disagreements. It's very common. You'll run into one of those, most likely. So again, what happens to the shares? So why is a buy-sell agreement so important? The pre-planning of a buy-sell agreement and pre-planning for any of those 5 Ds is super important just because it spells out and ensures that you and your business partner are not in emotional stress when discussing these things. So you put this in place, you have the discussions while you have sound mind, calm emotions, you're thinking rationally, and it helps create a roadmap for you and the family, your partner's family to follow and stick to in order to make decisions easy and without emotions. So again, clear, sound mind, you and your business partner and families are talking it through, figuring out how it's going to go before something bad happens, before one of those 5 Ds occurs. So let's jump into an example. Now, these are going to be high level, not too much in the details, but we're going to talk about a buy-sell agreement between John and Max. So they own a plumbing company, 50-50, up in Minnesota. Both are older, have kids, but they're not involved in the business. It's valued around $1 million. John handles the books and internal operations. Max handles outside sales and customers. Pretty good people person. So let's touch on first if one of them were to have a disability. Let's say John gets sick. He has a heart attack and is disabled and can no longer work his normal hours or contribute to the company in the capacity that he was. So this is common. So the buy-sell agreement would kick in based on the terms of the agreement, whatever's set in the buy-sell, and it would determine if, when, and how John's shares will be bought out. Meaning if John is not producing for the company, he's not bringing in any money anymore, the company does not want to continue to pay him 50% of profits. They would rather buy him out at a fair marketable deal using disability insurance for a buyout, cash, whatever it might be, so the business is not losing 50% of its income, paying it out, and not gaining anything back by having that owner kind of stay on. So this protects the company in general. So again, Max or the company, depending on how it's set up, will have the first rights to buy the shares from John. All right, let's move on to one of the other Ds, which is death. Let's assume Max passes away unexpectedly one night. His wife, Maria, obviously she's not doing well. She got some insurance money from other insurance policies that she had. Max and John, in their agreement, agreed to do a cross-purchase agreement where they bought life insurance policies on each other to fund the death clause in the agreement. So while John and his wife Ariel do get along with Maria, they do not want to keep her as 50% owner. Again, she's not in the business. She's not bringing in revenue. They don't want to keep paying her 50% of the profits and doing 100% of the work. So again, the buyout agreement is in place for this. So the life insurance proceeds will be given to Maria to buy back Max's shares that he passed on to his widow, Maria. Now, There is a new rule that came out. We're going to touch on it later, and I'm diving into it. It's called Connolly versus the United States. It throws a bit of a wrench in the death benefit within a buy-sell agreement. That's too complicated for what we're talking about now, but just know that there are some extra complications when it comes to this. So the positives was Maria got full value for her share of the business. John and Ariel own the business now outright on their own. The business cash flow wasn't hurt because the life insurance proceeds from when Max passed away were used to buy his shares from Maria. Everybody's happy. Everybody's clear on what on the buyout agreement, everything that went through with it. There were no disputes, anything like that. It was all written out and very clear for everybody to follow. So divorce, disagreement, and departure, these are 3 of the 5 Ds that are kind of, I call them more fluid. So they're trying to figure out if a divorce occurs, if the 2 owners have a disagreement, or if one of the partners says, hey, I want to go somewhere else, what happens and how does the buy-sell agreement basically handle all this? So this is a conversation with the attorney going through, spelling it out. If this, then this. If this, then that. So again, they're a little more fluid, but they got to be agreed upon, and you can write these things out and have it as kind of a binding agreement. So especially on a departure, if I want to sell my 50% shares, and you as the owner of the other 50%, I can't just sell my 50 to some random person, right? You're going to have first rights. If you decide not to, then it might open up the door, depending on what's written in the contract. So how do you fund buy-sell agreements? Insurance is by far the number one easiest, lowest cost, least burden to fund these. So life insurance and disability insurance policies. You can use cash. If a company is very, very flush with cash, they could use cash to do a buyout, basically out of cash flow of the company. This puts a burden on them, though, just from a standpoint of that's considered an asset of the business. It would be considered part of the value. So it's not like you could take all the cash and use it as a buyout unless you had over, 50% of the business value sitting in cash. Sinking fund, too complicated to get into right now. Selling of assets, basically, hey, we're closing up shop and selling what we can or reducing what we're doing. Borrowing, taking out loans from banks or other type of lenders. I will say, being in the banking space for over 6 years, borrowing to help fund the buyout after a death or a disability can be very, very challenging. If it's a planned thing and it makes some more sense, that could get done a lot easier. But when we're kind of rushed and all of a sudden we have a disability or a death, that makes it a lot tougher. So the insurance, and again, it's just going to be cheaper as well. So you're not paying interest, right? All right, so some questions to ask yourself when you're thinking about a buy-sell agreement and the funding. So in the event of a catastrophe, will I be more calm and level-headed during it, or will I be less calm and level-headed during a catastrophe? Do I want my spouse to feel like she or he was left to the wolves? Meaning if I pass away and my wife is sitting there going, what do I do? And all of a sudden my partner's attorneys are calling her and telling her, hey, this is the value, this is what she has no idea. She would be totally left to the wolves. She would feel so lost, scared, and probably a little angry at myself. Do I want my business partner and our families to be calm during this crisis, or confused and unsure about what's next? That's an easy one as well. And then again, are your advisors paying attention to this Connolly versus United States? So again, Supreme Court rule that just went through in early June. Basically, with buy-sell funding, with life insurance, we have to be careful that it's not going to get included in the value of the business. And based on this, it sounds like it will. So there's going to be different terms of life insurance that we're going to look at. Values, it's going to change things quite a bit. So one final thing from Mr. P.T. Barnum: money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. If we do not put insurance in place, if we're not thinking about this stuff early and something happens to someone in our business, money becomes a terrible master. We're trying to pay it back. We're trying to beg, borrow, steal to just get money to finalize this buyout. or keep someone in there as a 50% owner that's not bringing in anything. It's a terrible place to be. But if you take control of it, buy the appropriate insurance, plan ahead for it, that money that you'll get from the insurance companies and the other things becomes an excellent servant. It allows you to serve the estate, your family, the company, and make sure that everything flows smoothly and appropriately, and you're not, in turmoil. So I hope this was helpful. Obviously, a lot of stuff in here. Reach out with any questions. I'm happy to share additional details, especially on the new case that went through. And you guys enjoy the rest of the week. Reach out with questions again. Everybody, take care. Bye.